Hey, thanks for being a part of the conversation. Let's do some pod crashing. Episode number 257 is with Jacob and Ashley Schick from the podcast, The Good Stuff.
Good morning, sir. Doing great. How are you?
Absolutely fantastic. We live in this age now where podcasting is now a part of our life. It's like a radio station of the 70s, 80s, and 90s where we went to it to feel good. But they're not all that way. But you're changing things and you're bringing something to those that are trapped inside their office or cars.
Absolutely, because what we've decided is that, you know what? We know a lot of people that have amazing stories that have some that are very well known, some that are just everyday people, but all of them have a story to tell. And we want to tell those stories in order to give people the perspective and mindset to live a life well lived.
We are on the same street on that because my mantra is share your story or someone will write it for you. I don't want someone writing my story. And really, when I listen to your podcast, it feels like you guys want to embrace that idea as well.
Absolutely, because like Jake said, everyone has a story, and we dig deep on the good stuff. We don't just do surface level. And so a lot of times the successes and the happy days come from those hardships. That's the motivation that we need to get through to make it to the next level. You
bring up such an interesting point there about those hardships, because I'm one of those people, and I'm a little freaky on this, is that when I have a victory in my day, I prepare my heart for the downside of the mountain. And it's like, well, dude, you can't live that lifestyle. You can't expect evil to come your direction because you had a good day.
You know what, Errol? And I think that is a human condition that is given to us by society. We have these great moments, and I think that's something everyone struggles with. We have these great moments or these great days, and then we're thinking to ourselves, okay, well, when's the other shoe going to drop? When's the hammer going to drop? And I think that is 100% conditioned from the news cycle and social media and the things that we have ever present at our fingertips. And that's what we're trying to do, is give people the tools to change that perspective and change that mindset, because whether we've been talking to 3-time Super Bowl champions, or we've been talking to world-renowned glass artists, or talking to school teachers, so on and so forth, it's all about mindset. And we don't have to, as Randy Couture says, we do not have to let the crazy roommate in our heads always win.
You talked about news reels and things. I can't imagine what the world is feeling today from those actions yesterday with that submarine, because we as a globe, as a generation, embraced a moment of hope. Now we've got to lift ourselves from this, because there's got to be something positive that's got to be unveiled on this.
Yeah, you would hope so, because here's the thing. The way I look at it, from my brothers and sisters who don the cloth of the nation that are no longer with us, is the only way to truly honor them is to live well every day. There's not a piece of paper, there's not a plaque, there's not a medal, there's not a certificate, there's not an award that will justify that in their legacies. In order for us to be true gatekeepers to those that are no longer with us, is by living well every day. That is the only way to truly honor them.
How did you guys come about when it came to creating the podcast? Because so many people say, I want to do it, but it turns into a hobby more than an outreach. Because, I mean, you guys obviously envision who your listener is. You know we're out here, and you speak with us. You don't talk at us, you speak with us. When did you realize that this was more than a hobby?
So we actually hesitated in creating it just because everyone has a podcast these days, it seems. But Jake reads the news every day. I do not. I'm one that just kind of takes it on a little too strong. So I can't stomach it. And he sometimes, he'll filter what he shares with me and what he doesn't. But, we just, about 3 years ago, it was even before the pandemic, we just noticed that all of the news was just doom and gloom. And yet we know so many people, and every single one of them has a story, and every single one of them can provide inspiration and hope, because they can provide perspective for someone that hasn't heard their story. And so go ahead.
I was going to say, do you believe in the theory of, everybody is carrying the needle in the haystack? In other words, you've got something that I need. If we have a conversation, we can heal.
Absolutely. Randy Couture actually said on our episode 2, he said, every single person I meet is better at something than I am. And with an open heart and an open mind, I can learn from that person. And that's what it's really encouraging everyone to do. Talk to the person in front of you. Be kind, whether they're the CEO of a company or the janitor, or whether they're a person you randomly meet on the street or standing in line at an event. Talk to them. They have a story.
Man, you bring up that janitor, and right away my mind goes to this guy who developed those really super hot Cheetos. And because, I mean, this was a janitor that changed an entire company around. And that's why people can't quit at whatever level they're at.
That's right. It's all about perseverance and mindset. And we have to keep pushing. It's like we tell our sons, right things, right reasons. God will take care of the rest, and bad days are guaranteed. And how you recover from those bad days is what can separate you from the hurt or not. You have to keep on grinding with grit and grace.
How do you reach beyond the circles that we create? Because today on iHeartRadio, my subject is basically we have to stop fitting in. And what I mean by fitting in is that we accept a job because, okay, I'm going to be safe here, when in fact you've got leadership skills and talents, but we don't want to use it because the hours are going to be too long and it's going to be brutal.
Yeah, so that's the blessing of this, is that Jake and I, when we first sat down to do this podcast, we said, here's one of the reasons why we feel like we are being called to do this. Mm-hmm. We both have really large circles, and there's no stereotype on either one of the circles, because we've both done a lot of things and met a lot of incredible people in our life. That being said, again, everyone has a story. And so we've even been sent, just even in the few weeks that the podcast has been live, more stories. And that's just it. We certainly get comfortable in our bubbles, but this will really encourage people, expand outside of that bubble. You can't look at our guest list of season 1, and there's definitely no blueprint there. Mm-hmm. It is all over the place. Like Jake said, from a glass artist to a 30-year-old autistic rapper to a 3-time Super Bowl champion, the mother of the other man down in the American Sniper tragedy, to executives at Fortune 40 companies. We are all over the board, and we talk about all kinds of different topics that, is true. It will truly touch someone.
Mm-hmm. You said 2 of my favorite words, God and called, because I mean, and the reason why those touch me when you say that is because I kept praying to God, get me into my church deeper, Lord, get me there, get me there, get me there. And he gives me a podcast. I'm going, what? But the outreach is so much further than sitting inside a building.
Absolutely. And that's what makes it beautiful, is that anyone can listen anywhere, anytime. And we feel like people need this dose of the good stuff every single day. All of us need it. All of us need this dose of, okay, I'm okay. Yeah. And I can keep going forward. And you know what? And if I'm not okay, that's okay. That doesn't make me a leper. That's okay. That makes me completely normal. It's like I have to tell people all over the world, post-traumatic stress is nothing more than a normal reaction to an otherwise abnormal situation. It is a self-protection mechanism. It doesn't make you odd. It makes you completely normal. That's okay.
Yeah, a lot of people say, "Oh, I'm feeling depressed today." Do you feel depressed, or do you feel normal? That maybe you're just being your rightful self right now.
Exactly, and that's the thing, is I truly believe that we allow fear of judgment and ridicule to truly dictate our greatness in order for us to reach our full potential. And we just want to give people tools and give them little knowledge nuggets and soul food to say, hey, look, I don't have to do what society does. I don't have to be what everyone expects me to be. I'm going to wake up and I'm going to do me because everyone else is taken, and I'm going to do it unapologetically and try and be a force for the greater good and fight for the greater good, because I want to leave this spinning ball of chaos better than I found it.
Yeah. The 2 of you together, the way you speak, you've got, one of you has to be a journal writer, because you can't just go into a project unprepared. You've got to be able to write it out and to break it down. Is it one of you?
It's totally me, Arrow. I am a coach, note taker, and prep. No, it's totally Ashley.
He learned that in the Marine Corps, right? No. Yes, I've been blessed to be able to tell stories for years, and I've just always been fascinated with this idea that everyone's got one, and like Randy Couture said, you can always learn from the person sitting across from you.
When you get together with these people of big names, basically, because we all see them as superheroes, in reality, they're just normal people, aren't they? They put their pants on the same way the rest of us do.
And that's the whole point behind it is, look, not all of our guests are going to be world champions or going to be well-known Fortune 40 company executives. We're going to have, they are everyday people. Mm-hmm. And they don't put their pants on exactly like I do because I have but you get the point is that everybody has experienced the peak or experience the valley in order to get to the peak. And most of the lessons were learned in the valley. Everybody. Just letting everyone give a perspective and an understanding that pain and suffering is relative. It can't be measured. And it's the one thing as a human race we can all relate to is that trauma and tragedy sucks. Yeah. But we can all learn from it. It doesn't have to define who we are. We can always just say, this was a moment in time that has made me better because I chose for it to make me better, not for it to pull me down.
One of the things, as this is podcaster to podcaster here, I believe in the fermenting process. In other words, we do a show, we set it aside, and we allow the performer to go their direction, and here comes the inner you, the editor. Do you go through a fermenting stage as well? In other words, it doesn't go instantly up.
Correct. Yes, absolutely. We have been working on this podcast for over 3 years now. As we said, that's kind of when the idea was birthed pre-pandemic. And so we actually started recording about a year ago, and it's amazing to see. The fun thing for us truly is when we have to go back and edit and listen. The podcast is providing soul food for us on a daily basis. And anytime we go back and listen, we're like, okay, we know we've got something here, because even us going back and listening, we were there, we were in the room, we did the interview, but then we go back and listen to it, a month or a couple weeks later, and it's like, gosh, that's good, man. I needed that today.
That is so true.
There's been multiple times where, because between, doing One Tribe and public speaking and stuff and entertainment and then the podcast, there's been times where I've looked at Ash and I'm like, babe, the last thing I want to do right now is go sit down and do, and then we leave there. I'm like, I'm so glad I did that. I needed that.
You speak the language, because when it comes, we're not always in the mood when we step up to this microphone. What happens is that you go, okay, take me, use me as a tool. Let's reach people that I will never get to meet, but I hope one day maybe I can meet at least one of them.
Right.
Absolutely. Yes.
And Jake and I say that often. If it touches just one, it's worth it.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's talk about One Tribe Foundation. People need to know about this.
Yeah, look, One Tribe Foundation is absolutely a passion project that stems from my own demons. And we started years ago as 22 Kill with the 22 Push-Up Challenge. And that was to shed light on the veteran suicide epidemic that majority of the world has become very familiar with, because what we learned with the Push-Up Challenge was it was not just an issue in the United States, it's an issue around the world. And then what we've learned since then, and for the better part of a decade, is that these are human problems. Mm-hmm. They're not just military problems or veteran problems. These are human problems. And so that's why we've expanded the demographics that we serve, and we eventually want to serve everybody in mental and emotional wellness. And look, what we've learned is that we all bleed red, mm-hmm. and that we all understand pain and suffering. And that's the one thing we can all lean in on and say, hey, look, I may not agree with this view or that view of you, but you bleed red just like me, and we can come to some sort of compromise and still have a relationship that's not toxic if we love ourselves and forgive ourselves first. The sky's the limit at that point. And through One Tribe, that's what that stands for, is the human tribe. Mm-hmm. We can really come together and be so much stronger as a human race than the division that we're all experiencing right now, and the doom and gloom and the negative. We don't have to be what the news cycle or society tells us. We need to wake up and do us, but we have to do it with conviction in who we are.
When you walk up to somebody or somehow fate has put you in the place of another person and you see yourself in their actions and reactions, is there a go-to line that you use, or how do you make sure that you extend your love to them without making it sound like that, oh, I'm going to heal you? You know what I mean by that? Because so many times we see ourselves, the pain that we've walked through, in other people, and maybe that was your moment to help change them.
Yeah, I'll tell you right now, here's the way I look at it, brother, is that anytime I'm walking up to a stage, I never prepare speeches. I never do that. I want to be 100% genuine, right? And I say the same thing every time I'm walking up to a microphone, or I'm meeting someone new, or I'm going into a meeting that I know is going to get tense. God, when my mouth opens, just let it be what they need to hear from you, because I have no idea what I'm going to say. I'm just going to show up and I'm a tool. Just like you said, we are tools for the greater good. That's it. And again, right things, right reasons. God will take care of the rest. Bad days are guaranteed. And if we have that in our pocket and understand not everything's going to go according to the way we want it to go, but that's okay, because it's not about us and it's not our plan.
But you know what though, Jake, is that when we give ourselves like that and we allow that energy to move through us, there's always that voice somewhere in the back of our head saying, they took from me, can they give it back to me? I need something back, because we all suffer from post-production blues. That's after you've been on that stage and it's like, oh my God, I can't breathe. I need to have more energy. What do you do?
Yeah, it's funny because a lot of times when I walk off stage, because I swear, it's like I get up there and I'll block out for 45 minutes or an hour.
Yeah.
And I'll come off, and every time I look at Ash, I'm like, how was it? Because I don't, she's like, oh, like one time I was walking off the stage and I think we were in New Orleans or Vegas or somewhere where there was a big crowd. And I'm,
the entire crowd was chanting USA, USA. And Jake had no idea. And I was like, he said, how was it? I was like, are you kidding me? I've got tears in my eyes. I'm like, are you joking? They're chanting USA.
But that's you know what? And it's, you alluded to your, how do we recharge? How do we feed our souls? And I'm telling you, the best way for us is to really just unplug, get with our boys, get with our families, and have genuine time together, because everything's so fast paced nowadays. Everything, especially in this country, is instant gratification, which is not a real thing. And, someone somewhere somehow paid for it.
Oh,
and
God, so true. So true.
And for us to be able to spend time together, turn off the devices, because they're never ending, to be able to have good quality time as a family, as friends. And I'm one of those who just told our oldest son this yesterday, your family's who you make it. DNA doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
And, we're able to really get our soul food and our recharging, not only from the show and the guests that we have on and the lessons that we learn from them, but to really sit down and have family quality time with each other and enjoy each other's company, talk about lessons we've learned that day. That's how we recharge.
The listeners, you've created a product here. They're going to want to reach out somehow, some way. Have you created a website? Is there a way for them to reach into your lives as well? Because, I love it when they reach out and they go, hey, by the way, I tried this, but can I try this? What's your experiences? So do you do that, or have you taken it to that level yet?
We have not gotten there quite yet, Arrow. We've got all of the social mediums up, and we've also got, because social media can be used for good, and I encourage that we all start using it for good and sharing the positivity and sharing the positive stories. And we've got an email address where listeners can reach out to us as well.
Good. What do you do? You talked about how fast time is moving. I swear to God, I write about that every day, about how fast it's moving. And the only thing I can do is live in the presence of now, because I believe that we all have control of what is right now.
Absolutely. And time is the most precious commodity we have. I truly believe that. If you've ever been at the bedside of someone that's about to leave this earth, you realize time is the most precious commodity that we have. And it's so important that we stop, just like Jake said, self-care. You've got to stop, and you've got to find what it is that's your therapy, whether it's meditation. We've recently gotten into Tai Chi because my mom became a Tai Chi instructor. And I never in a million years thought I would say we're into Tai Chi, but we are. And it's beautiful and it's relaxing and it's great for your body, but it's also really good for just kind of slowing everything down and calming yourself down. We love to get out in the great outdoors. We love to hop on Jake's motorcycle and go for a ride in North Texas.
Yeah. Transitions. We all go through transitions, but we don't study our transitions. We just kind of set them aside. And I take a transition walk every single day to get my intentions in line. When you say walking, I'm thinking you're doing the same thing.
Yes. I probably overstudy my transitions. It is something that I may or may not be known to wear people out with how much I unpack and then repack and then unpack and then repack. But I really truly believe that's how we grow as human beings and how we get closer to ourselves. And that's one thing I will give a pat on my back that I really have unpacked a lot of stuff in my life that long before the Marine Corps and thereafter. But it's something that I think we have to study ourselves. We have to really, in order to truly be in tune with who we are, I think that's very important, because those of us that are able to get our conscious to truly meet and walk in tandem with our subconscious, that's when we become very powerful tools.
Yes.
Because we are very present in the moment, and we understand that our control stops outside of our own skin, and we're okay with that.
Wow. I love where your heart is, you guys. And Jacob, first of all, thank you for serving our nation the way that you have, and you continue to serve this generation, the two of you.
Well, you're worth it, brother. Thank you.
You got to come back to this show anytime in the future. The door is always going to be open for you. The community of podcasting is all about love for each other. This isn't radio where we're competing against each other. We all have a purpose to serve.
Absolutely. And we all have a story. So, Arrow, we're going to have to get you on ours as well.
My door is always open.
Fantastic. Thank you, sir.
You guys be brilliant today, okay?
You as well.
Likewise, brother.